How's it, everyone? Wayne the Known here, and welcome back to another episode of Geeking Out, where we basically discuss everything nerd and geek related. I'm here with my good friend Lia Dugal of Cafe Girl Studios, and also writer of the Doctor Who fan series Time Keys.
So the production company is Cafe Girl Writing Artists LLC. But
That
yeah,
one,
yeah.
yes,
Mhm.
that one.
It's okay.
But yeah, no, thank you, Leah, for coming on to talk about the Doctor Who fan series you helped write, called Time Keys.
Mhm. Uh,
So
so
yeah,
so
go ahead.
Time Keys is the kind of name of the channel, Time Keys Fan Fiction, and it has four sort of seasons or series which are part of that, which started with Homesick, and then there's Heartsick, Mindsick, and Time Sick are the four series up there. But Time Keys kind of is the enveloping. It's called Time Keys Fan Fiction because it would be to keep it open to other kind of fandoms as well as Doctor Who
Gotcha,
in some way.
gotcha.
And Time Keys is kind of the thread through the series is because I played Romana, and from, if you remember way back from the
Oh,
fourth
back when
Doctor.
you had like your like long reddish hair.
Yeah, I was Romana because so Romana was a time lady. There was one version, there was two versions of her, and she traveled with the fourth Doctor, and then we never really saw her again. There was like a rendition of her in one of the audiobooks, but I fell in love with her when I was watching the Key of Time series, and so I had these series of dreams while watching her story in 2012 where I was Romana, but had taken on human form. They were very like descriptive, and she finally does figure out who she is and reunites with the Doctor, and so that's what inspired it. And so the thread through all of the series is that the Key of Time has been once again scattered and it needs to be discovered again, or it's been assembled, and the the there are the powers that be in the universe are going to try to use it for ill-gotten gain, for to have absolute power. And so there's the thread of and so then we kind of shortened it to Time Keys or Time Key. And then in one of the series, I think it's Heartsick and Homesick, there's a shot that there is a band called the Time Keys. And they're in the end of Homesick, you see them playing, and they're like, "We're the Time Keys," and that's why I had the tank top. I was wearing a tank top earlier, but that's why we got the Time Keys in relation to that. And then there's a band called Time Keys, so it was kind of a cool little fun thing. So, anyways, you're going to ask a question?
Yes. So when did you start? What was the first series? Was it Heartsick?
No. So I wrote this, I had these series of dreams in 2012, and then I started writing them. And then I got involved with theater. I came back to theater. I did theater when I was in college and studied it when I was in high school and college. And then I went away from it for a while. And then I came back to it in about 2012 to 2013, separated from my ex-husband, but I still had this script in mind. And as I was getting back into it, I've always been a writer. I've always written plays and everything since I was old enough to hold a pencil. But I had these dreams, and I was really fascinated by the Doctor and the Doctor Who series. At that point, I just really got into it, and I started writing scripts over different versions of it. And then I was trying to kind of figure out, I didn't have a camera. I knew there are people that were in the area that make films or whatever. I didn't know what to do, but I just started end of 2015, like the last week of 2015, I got a bunch of my friends together that were actors, and some of them that had cameras, and we put together this series that was really, I mean, you can see clips of it if you watch it throughout Homesick, where it was basically Jane is talking to my character Jane. It's trying to figure out who she really is, and she's having these dreams and these nightmares about Romana, and she doesn't know who that is, but she keeps remembering having these dreams like she's there, and she's speaking to her camera like a YouTuber. And so it was like, that was how it was modeled, but all these other things were happening as well. And so it was really kind of thrown together. I didn't know what I was doing. And then in March of 2016, we did kind of march through like May. We did another series with the same kind of group of people. We put it out there. I wasn't that happy with it, but I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a camera, and I didn't even really think I was going to become a filmmaker. But I started to have kind of a passion for it. It was starting to like I was starting to love it, and love the idea of creating something on my own or with, you know, and basically being a content creator basically. And that's when I first devised the name of the company, Cafe Girl Productions. And I've since rebranded to Cafe Girl Thriving Artists, because I think ultimately the company is about helping others find their thrive. And I'm, you know, designing workshops and coaching to help others find that thrive, as well as film and media. We've done other film and media projects as well. But yeah, so originally back in 2015, we released all the different kind of seasons that were really rough and thrown together in like mid 2016 or right around summer 2016. I went on and I did a couple other things, short films, little short projects, as I was trying to figure out, like, am I a filmmaker? Is this a real company? What are we doing here? And then in 2017, a friend of mine at the time, Brittany, had a script. She had a dream that she was a doctor. And I said, hey, why don't you write it? And so we started kind of collabing back and forth. And I always said, you know, I never felt satisfied with how Homesick ended. So maybe we could do Heartsick and then have like kind of finalize, do a better ending for Homesick, because I'd kind of thrown something together. I said, can we, you know, and so we did. So we got the cast together. We had the original cast was basically like, we had me, the doctor, played by Nick Walker, and then we had Catherine Hansen, Russell Mitchell, Roy was there, was the master, and then I think we had like Kira, basically under 10 people and like one or two camera people, you know, at a time. But then 2017, like it was the first summer that we did like a big, like we filmed like a major thing, like for 3 months. It was a huge thing. It was and it was quite the undertaking, and you know, really became a bonded family over that time. But it took, you know, we had to get more people involved. Oh, I forgot, Cuca Bumpa Kaboompa was in it. I don't want to forget them because I feel like if they're listening to this, they're like,
and their partner was also involved as well, if I'm not mistaken.
He came later. In the next series,
it was 2018.
Yeah,
it's around the time you guys around the time you guys had me tag along for a brief moment.
You came as a production assistant. Yeah. So so it went 2016, and then 2017 was when we did the big series Heartsick and Homesick. We filmed that all summer. It was amazing. 2018 we did Mindsick and Timesick, and then we didn't finish all of it, and so we had to come back and finalize some things in 2019, just a few scenes, and now they both have been released. I had to edit a bunch of stuff, and then COVID hit, and it was hard to get a hold of my editing company, and so I kept having editing issues where like something would crash and I'd be like, what is going on? So it took more it was like the doctor or maybe the master was messing with me to get it done, but they're all done now. And it's kind of funny to think that not only I spent so much time going, oh, when is this going to be done, and then it's released. Like yesterday was the last like episode of Timesick that was released, and it's like you put all this energy and time and focus, and then it's like it's out in the world. You're like, oh, okay.
7 years since this all started. Then, since you said it started in 2016.
Yeah,
7 going on for 7 years. I just saw like I didn't fully watch it, but I saw like the new. I remember when you did that interview with me, I saw like a bit of the newer episode. Who's the cameraman now? Because I can't remember the one you had back when we filmed in 2018. I can't remember his name.
Oh, well, I would believe that was probably West Christie, who's basically a co-producer with me, I would say. My business is an LLC. And so during the 7 years, besides the Doctor Who fan fiction, we've also had a lot of different things we've done and are going to do. But he came on in about 2018, was helping with this series and another series. And because it's an LLC, like I'm not paying anyone really yet. And once I can, then I'm sure I'll be assume maybe we'll all quit our jobs and just be film producers or content creators and coaches. I'm an artist coach. I'm going to use art, different facets of art to help people heal, work through their issues, and find their thrive. But yeah, that's West Christie. He's done a lot of so he's done a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of cinematography. That's like his really big talent. He's a great photographer. He has West Christie Photography, and if anyone wants to hire him. And he's also I've learned a lot from him in my filmmaking, my behind the scenes, like setting up angles and lighting and all that. And then he had some on-screen stuff in our other web series, Nate and Lauren, How They Met, and then he just played the lead in a film, a short film called I Am Fine. So he's all over the place. So yeah, West is great. We love West.
Oh yeah, no, he's definitely good.
He's a sweetheart.
I can't remember the other guy's name. I know for a while he was doing camera work too when we were filmed back in 2018. I can't remember his name. He had like he had that really nice camera. Had like
Cosmo
yeah,
D'Agato.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like, wait, who?
Well, Cosmo, that's his name.
Yeah, and then in 2017, before him and West, we had this lovely human named Robert Hastings, who was our
I'm familiar with Robert. I remember meeting him for the first time back in 2017 at a con.
Yeah. I think is that how we met you? I think in 2018 because we had our TARDIS on display. And
at Meadowlark. Yeah, at the first Meadowlark Comic Con back in 2018.
Took a picture there.
I have that picture.
Yeah,
still
I got
in the envelope. I have that picture in this envelope in my closet. Nice. I didn't need to get a frame for that, but
yeah,
that's the closest time I'll ever be inside a TARDIS.
Maybe. I mean, I do have an idea. I feel like as far as on-screen work, I've like completed my journey of what I needed to learn from Romana, personally. So I'm more looking at wanting to write a series and maybe direct it or some capacity like that, with another doctor and other kind of other people. And I want to, so I would say time sick, heart sick, homesick, and mind sick, specifically homesick and time sick. There was a theme around the book Paradise Lost, because all of these Time Lords, Jane Smith or / Romana, had all been kind of had fled for whatever reason or left for some other reason, their homeland Gallifrey, their planet Gallifrey. So it was like lost to them. And so my theme that I've been reading the book The Odyssey, and I was thinking that would be a really great series that could I could tie into the past series with a new doctor, in the place of like Odysseus. And so that's kind of my thinking. I need to finish it and then sort of sit down and write something and tie it into the previous series to kind of, you know what I mean? Because you always want to do that, because we left him on this note of like, okay, what happens next? So
I get you.
So that's my next series. So you wanted to know what goes into making a
real quick, do you still have the TARDIS, the TARDIS prop to this day?
Yes, it's on my deck and it's there. But where I live, I'm out in the country. We have it there as a storage shed, but because of wind and everything, it's never going to move again. It was getting pretty run down the last time.
I remember when we filmed at your place that night when Brittany was in charge of running the set. I remember having to like be behind it when John like fell right up against it, and I was trying to hold it up.
You're talking about no, it wasn't John that night. It was Roan.
Oh yeah.
She's going by Roan now. And yeah, she.
That's right.
Yeah. She was playing the fool.
I remember that with when oh god, what was this? Nick was holding the like the vacuum cleaner prop.
Yeah, that scene is out. It turned out really well.
Oh, it is?
Oh yeah.
Is it on YouTube? With your permission, if I could show that scene.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I can send you the playlist and you can kind of go through and watch it and then see whatever,
Okay.
whatever scenes you want to
Because I
show.
do want like people who are watching this at home. I do want them to see what this is like. But
Yeah.
I remember when she fell backwards against Tarzan. I remember having to be behind it just to hold it up so it wouldn't like fall backwards.
Yeah, yeah. The things you have to do that now that happens with filmmaking, specifically
Uh,
with indie filmmaking.
oh,
Yeah, so what else do you want to, I mean,
oh
yeah,
yeah. So what's it been like altogether making this Doctor Who fan series?
wow, that's a loaded question. It's been life changing. Short answer, it's been life changing because it's really interesting that following my like pursuit of doing what I love and then trying to make a life out of it has been and you know had started with the Doctor and started with Ramana. uh, I always think of the Doctor and then I'm like Ramana. Like she is I'm her, she's me, like you know what I mean, like um but and I think it's interesting that that's how it all began, and I'm never going to forget that because I have gone on to create other stories. It's really important to me to create stories that have some sort of basis in my life that I'm sort of working through and healing, but then also can be relatable to other people. And so I have lifelong friendships. And even if we're not necessarily friends anymore, I have fond memories, and I'm grateful for their presence in my life and for what they taught me, and I'll never forget experiences. I think I've seen what I can do when I put my mind to it with little to no money, and what we can do as a team and how we can come together and create something and really make it happen. I recently really I realized fully, I think I've always known this before, but the original producer of the show, so BBC is like the overwatching producer, but when it was made in 1963, there was a woman that was hired to be the first producer,
Uh,
Verity Lambert. And I was watching this series that they did around this like little short film they did around the
I know which one exactly you're talking about.
50th.
It's how they were like. It's basically it was like a short movie slash series of how they came to create Doctor Who because BBC was trying to look for a show to fill in.
Yeah, yeah. And they hired this woman. It was a woman, Verity Lambert, and then there was a person of color that I think was like the director. And so it was a man, and he was like, they were kind of what's the word back then, minority, and not taken seriously. And I thought that was really beautiful, and I want to know more about Verity now. But because I feel a kinship that I'm a woman producer that created the series, and and um and then it has gone on to I'm moving forward in my life, but it all began from that one scrappy belief, and friends that just came along for the ride that was really sweet. And then I mean, in any kind of filmmaking venture, it usually takes like maybe 2 months, if not more, to beyond casting, to figure out all the locations, figure out all the scheduling. If you're going to do any kind of budget, figure out what you need to pay for the foods, the actors. We don't necessarily do that. Crew, what are you going to offer them for being on set? For us, it was always about, we want to feed people. We want to make sure that we're all being fed and water, and then props, costumes, makeup. If we need it, we need special SF makeup. We had to, like we said, we had to build the TARDIS. We built that in spring of 2017, and I think of any my newer projects that are not Doctor Who don't need that big thing, because that's a big thing that we needed. We also built. I don't know if you ever were there for our studio,
Uh,
studio stuff with the green screen,
I was
interior TARDIS.
I
Basically,
was not.
yeah, interior TARDIS. We built a console. So people will be able to see this if they go watch the series, but there's a green screen that you can use at RBTV. And so we filmed in front of the green screen, and we had this little console that the Doctor could run around. And somebody built it, and then I remember back then I had a day where I had to be somewhere else, but I scheduled like build the console day. And so a bunch of people went, and you know, kind of one of our let's see, Jimmy, who was our Jimmy of all trades, kind of he was like he could MacGyver anything. He still can. He's great. He's really talented. And he went and just like got all these little random assortment of pieces that he had, I think, in his shed. And you know, I still have all this stuff. And they decorated the console that day, so we actually had a console. People will see it. So you know, it's it's a lot of things going on. But the thing about film that's different than theater in some ways is that like live theater, you have a lot of rehearsals and then you have the final performance that puts it all together. Whereas film, you're basically filming your rehearsals in a way. Like you kind of run it beforehand and you think about it, and you have reading, you have a table read and meet and greets, and then you film it. You're kind of filming those rehearsals, and so that normally wouldn't be filmed if you were in theater. And then an editor goes away once you film the last scene and you wrap production. You go into post-production and you sit down and you like me, it's been me so far, but I love video editing and all that. I've really fallen in love with that process. And you sit down and it can take a couple months if you have the time, or it could take, like with me during the pandemic and not being able to get in touch with my video company's business, because that's how pandemic was. It could take more than that. It could take a year. It depends on the series and how long it is. I mean, the movies you see like in Hollywood, they can be made and then it takes a year before they come out. So like the actors go on their little talk shows and stuff, and they worked on the film 6 months or a year ago.
Basically, they're promoting the movie in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they have worked on it maybe 6 months or even a year ago, and so it went into post-production, and post-production has, you know, there's a lot of components in that that can make it take longer. You really want it to make it, you want to spend your time with it. So yeah, acquiring a commitment. Now I have a lot of equipment that I've been either gifted or have purchased, that I've learned a lot about. The best thing you need for any kind of web series or film project, the best thing that if you want, you don't necessarily, you need a good camera, a good quality camera. So I have a DSLR, a Canon. Is it a Canon? Where is it? Hold on. Yeah, it's a Canon. It's over there. And it's a Canon DSLR, and it's so I have that. And then we have an audio. We have a couple different external audio components and a boom mic now. And then we have a bunch of lights and a tripod. You can have a drone, you can have all these fancy things, and that's great. But like the basic thing, good audio and a good camera. Because we had, for Time Sick and Mind Sick, or no, mostly Time Sick and Homesick, we had this camera. Bless RBTV, they're a great service if you're wanting to start out, but if you can go and get your field producer credit, and then you can check stuff out. But their cameras and some of their equipments are quite old. So we had a camera that was older. It was a nice camera, but it was so much older that like the audio and the video would go out of sync, and I never have to do that again. But that's why I'm saying a good camera, a newer camera that's running well, a good external audio so that you have good audio, you know, clear audio that you can hear, and good lights so that it can be seen, and a tripod. It's like, ultimately, that's all you really need. And the most important thing, I did take a course, and one of the things that I got from that is, even above lighting, is if you have good audio, because you can fix lighting. You could kind of adjust lighting in post-production, but you can't fix sound. Of course, it's the other way around. Well, yeah. Make sure you're focused. You can't fix if somebody's out of focus. Like I noticed, there's nothing I can do about it now, but in Time Sick, there were some scenes, because we were using that old camera for a lot of it. There's some times on the old camera where it just randomly went decided to go out of focus. And so and I'm like, at this point, I'm like, well, it is what it is. I'm never going back to
I
that. So,
remember Cosmo, he had that really nice camera
mhm.
when we were filming back in 2018.
Yeah,
And
he
I was
had
like,
red, right? Or whatever that is.
I think it was. I also know, like, around the time we were filming up in Ashland back then, it was like during fire season too.
Yeah.
I remember
Which
it were like I remember like we all drove up to that one place like in the outskirts of Ashland. There was like during fire season, and it's just
yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the thing that's really interesting is that this year, I mean, back then, and I think it was in 2018, it was like smoky starting in the beginning of July.
Mhm.
And now it's like,
I mean, yeah, there's
knock
fire.
on wood.
Yeah, there's fires, but it's like not as bad as it was the past few
Yeah,
years.
it's not as close. There have been fires locally, but they get them out pretty fast. So
I
that's
was just
really
just
cool.
taking a look at one of the clips from when we all back then, and I could see like the sky is just all like orangish reddish.
Which
It's just,
works.
oh,
I mean,
it works for what we were doing back then.
well, and for the people at home, I should point out that the actors would take off their masks when they were on camera, but then they'd put it back
We would
on.
all have to put up
And everybody was wearing masks, and this is it before COVID.
bandanas.
Yeah, we were wearing masks or like N95s or bandanas. But if the air quality was extremely bad, we always postponed. And like that's like normal. Like if it's raining or if it's like flooding, it's snow, if it's dangerous, we postpone. So we were only out when it was like when it wasn't that bad. There's like air quality, but when it was so bad that no one should be outside, we postponed. Unless we were filming inside, or we could like go, okay, we're gonna actually film inside somewhere else, then we'll do that. But yeah, no. I want that to be clear. I don't put people at risk.
No, that's a good.
I'm
That's
not paying them enough.
That's good. Real quick before we talk about some of the scenes, want to give a shout out to the cast and crew that's been on this project from the beginning.
Yeah, so that would be Nick Walker, Kuga Boompa, Catherine Hansen, who has since deceased, Roy Raines, who would play the master. So Nick
such a good choice. He has that like villainous quality to him. The actor, I think his name is Mark Strong. Yeah, he kind of reminds me of Mark Strong, that villainous type of character.
He is villainous, but Roy is lovable. So he's the perfect master in the sense that like he's really, you love him. He does have that sweet face, but he's also can play evil. He's not overplaying it. There's a side to it. So Catherine Hansen played the Ronnie, and she also, her human version in this series was Margie Smith, who is standing in as the mother of Jane Smith. And my character was like, you're not really my mom. I have no memory of you. And then Russell Mitchell, who played the lackey, and the lackey was actually our version. Like we created this Time Lord, and he was supposed to be just a janitor on Gallifrey that kind of got lumped into him. And Russell Smith, who played him, came up with a really interesting backstory. Is that like his children had been taken captive by like either the swarm or the orb, let's say the orb, and so in order to get them back, he had to kind of go along with this evil plan to get him back. And so we're going to explore that a little bit. We're doing a little mini series with his character in September. We're filming it
like a little spin-off.
Yeah, a little mini series to film that with him. And he was kind of commanding, like if he was under the command of like the Ronnie and the Master, the lackey had the command of like the agents that were sent out, kind of thing. And some of the other little underling Time Lords that we'll see in that, you see in Time Sick, you see their faces appear here and there kind of popping up. But yeah, so originally, so it was Nick Walker, who's of course the Doctor, faithful Nick, good guy. Kuga Boompa, who was Teresa Wright, Jane's friend, and we later learn, I could say, well, I don't know, should I say what their character became? Should I give that away if they haven't seen it?
I mean, if you want to do a spoiler for this, that's perfectly fine. I don't
It's
mind.
out in the world. I don't know how many people said it. I won't say it. But their character Teresa Ray is quite interesting character. Jane's best friend on Earth. Go see Mind Sick and Time Sick to figure out the story. So and then Catherine Hansen was the Ronnie. Rory Raines was the Master / Dr. J. Smith, who was Jane Smith's psychiatrist, but also that was the human version. Catherine Hansen, Margie Smith, human version, Time Lady, the Ronnie. And I loved her Ronnie. It was perfect. And then the Lackey was our version of the Lackey. And then we had a bunch of agents, like Agent K, or Special Agent K was Kira. Heard Klotz Yasutaki, if I said that right. She's great. And like Ziggy, Jonathan Reeves was Agent Z. There's other people that were in there. There were kind of smaller people that kept kind of coming around. And then we moved forward. We had Brittany Rhea, who had her character Lauren Doyle's. Ruru, who was our Felicity, who's like a friend of Jane's. Lizzie Stevenson was like a potential love interest of Felicity. Robert Hastings, who was a filmmaker, but he played Rassilon. Roan DeBarney, who had created her own Time Lady character back in 2009, called The Fool, and we brought The Fool in Time Sick. And she did a lot as well. She played the Orb, which is a character as well. Oh gosh, Bebo Lay had a small part. They were an actor locally and they've since moved away, but Bebo Lay, they had a lot of theater around here, at Brook Valley. And then who else? Dorothy
There's also Jonathan too.
Jonathan Oles, who was the villain in Mind Sick. Sorry, thank you.
I remember the episode where Nick's character basically put the sonic screwdriver in his eye.
Yeah. I should remember that. I'm blanking. Or was it Nick's character? Or was it somebody else's character? I don't know.
It was Nick's character, the Doctor. I remember it was the same episode where he kidnapped Kiwa's character as well.
Yeah, okay.
When we were filming at the park in Ashland.
Oh, okay, yeah. They kind of attack him. And he gets him like that, and then
they all did their own stunts too.
Oh yeah, we had a stunt. We got somebody. I'm blanking on his name, that came at TJ or something that we went and did some choreography. So it was safe. Yeah, we always have that. We always try to have in anything we do where there's going to be fighting of any type, we practice it beforehand so it's safe. So in another web series, we kind of staged our choreography so that there wasn't actually, the actors wouldn't get hurt. I had to, in Mind Sick, there's moments where Nick's character, the Doctor, he's playing his human version, but it's like their brains are all being messed with. They're in this kind of maze, that's kind of mind sick, making their brains mind sick. And so they're always having these delusions, falling in these things and getting messed with and almost falling for it. And the Orion, John's character, sends kind of this vision in the form of Nick Walker's human character, Justin, to try to trick me. And I figure out it's not him. And so he pushes me, or Orion, through Nick's character, Justin, pushes me into a hole. And I'm watching that, and I'm watching it back, and I'm realizing that looks kind of bad. Like a male person pushing a woman. And then there's another earlier where John's character, and it's choreographed, so we knew it was safe, and it's story-wise, takes Q's character and kind of holds her up against the wall. And so I had to put simulated violence, because, it's like as a warning on there, simulated violence, because, ooh, oh my God, that doesn't look good at all. That's scary.
No Gallifreyans were harmed in the making of
that
scene.
No Time Lords. It's simulated violence. No one's actually getting hurt. But yeah, we always, for everything we always do some kind of free planning. I just did one for I Am Fine, where the fight choreographers are two of our lead actors have experience in that. Actually, three of them. They all three did. And so we had rehearsals before the fight scene, before we even got to the set, where the actors, we kind of blocked out how we were gonna like hurt each other. You know, like how it was gonna be on screen and what they were gonna do, so that it looks like they got hurt, but they didn't.
That's good.
So yeah.
Let's see.
I think I got everyone. So
Yeah.
is it Jonathan? I don't.
And if you haven't, I'll put the IMDb link below so people can see
Yeah.
who else was
Yeah.
on this.
Sarah
Shirley's
Pearl.
on there too.
Huh? Oh yes, me too. Sarah Pearl was on there. I want to make sure she gets there.
Oh, and
Yeah.
Francesca, the main makeup
Makeup
artist.
artist. She has had a small part in Heartsick. Yeah, appears on screen, as well as Stephanie Hubner, who appears as on screen. She was the director, one of the directors for Heartsick, and one of the directors for Homesick, as well as Acela Lee Kemper was in it. She was the one of the original directors for Homesick way back in the day. She's all over the place. She's a writer. Oh, she's amazing.
Sorry, go ahead.
And then Lala was somebody. She since moved away. She had a small part. I'm trying to get all the names, but yeah, they can.
Yeah, IMDb. I remember
IMDb for Mindsick. Yeah, I can send all those links too.
I remember. I think at one time you guys tried to get me on as well to be like one of the Daleks, but I was like busy at the time.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
I think it was I can't remember if I think it was Brittany who got a hold of me, but it's like I think it was her or you who wanted me to get on as well, but I was busy at the time. And I think it was 2018 to 2018 that I was like able to, because work schedule and everything, I wasn't always to be able to be on set with you guys. But I do appreciate the time that I was able to be on there.
Yeah,
I think it all happened just going to a con and then a couple months later getting asked to come on to help.
Yeah, that's how I am. You seem like a nice person. I'm like, hey, you want to join? Because you were new in the area too. You would just moved here, and so I was like, well, hang out with us. I was
looking for the opportunities. So next up, favorite scenes. Some of your favorite and least favorite scenes to record.
Oh, favorite scenes. I don't know if I have least favorite scenes.
Well, I mean, like when I say least favorite, like it was kind of like difficult to record. Whether it was like there's some kind of issue or something.
Oh, well, we did have, because we had a camera that was cut out sound. There was one scene towards the end of the 2017 that we filmed it, and then when I got the footage back and I was editing, there was like no sound on it, so we had to go back. And the actor Brittany had cut her hair. So
I remember seeing like in the original series how her hair was long at the time.
It was long, and then she had cut it at the end of that summer, and then luckily they got a wig on her, and it did not look good, but it worked for the series. We're like, whatever. She was in bed, so we had her like kind of wear this wig and then have it messy and pull it up. And I don't think anyone noticed it but us, because
the wig.
Yeah, because we knew it was a wig. I don't think anyone else.
Same thing happened to Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween 2. She had cut her hair prior to another film she was in, so when she came back for the sequel, she had to wear this wig. Like, you knew it was a wig.
Yeah. I don't think anyone will know in our series. I mean, they'll know now when they'll see it. It was when she was in her room. She had a nightmare, and the doctor comes in and talks to her. But we that was kind of frustrating because we wrapped and we had to go back and do a reshoot, is what they're called, because of camera audio. Just like
little reshoots.
Clicked out. Yeah. A funny moment on set that was kind of scary at the time. So I've learned now to let the police know whenever we're filming.
It's always good to let police know.
Yeah, but I didn't early when we were doing it 2017, because I'd never done this before. And we filmed this scene. It was the beginning of Heartsick. So if you watch like the first episode of Heartsick, you see this, there's no sound, there's just music, and there's a car accident. And the main character's father dies, and and that's like part of her plot point, is that she feels like she killed her dad. But she where was I going? So we have that scene, and the doctor has to run up and open the door and yell like, and he wasn't, there was no sound, but he asks like, hey, can we yell, can I say something on camera, because I feel like I need I feel like I need to like I want to I feel it'll help my character, right? So he's yelling at the top of his lungs, somebody get help, there's been an accident on Pinecrest Terrace, or call 911, over and over and over, but there's no sound. So somebody does, one of the neighbors, and a police car shows up, and we're like, holy shit. I were like, and I go up and I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? The guy's like, somebody called, there's an accident. I'm like, no, sorry, it's a film shoot. Oh my God. And he goes, you know what you have to tell people, because there's like, I'll call it off, but next, and I'm like, I'm only a student. Yes, it's totally a student film, which I'm not a student. There were a couple students at that time, but it was a little white lie. And he was like, okay, I'm gonna call off the people coming. Is there an ambulance and a fire truck on the way? But you have to tell people. And right, so we're all freaking out. We finish up, we leave, and we had long days, long nights, and so we go home, or I think maybe we went home by that time. Had a long day. The next day we came together to film at the library in the evening, Ashland Library. And I remember we get to set and we start talking about it, and we're just laughing like, what did we do? So yeah, that's a funny moment from set that is memorable. And there's always set jokes that you like say set life that just are running themes. My Stephanie, her thing is always, this is not a porn, was always what, not a porn, this is not a porn, because she'll, like, if somebody says something and it can be taken, it can be misconstrued, this is not a porn. So yeah, I mean, there's always, in every series, whenever you get a bunch of creative people together and they're working on something, a flub comes up. And like, that's why if you watch at the end of Heartsick and Mind Sick and Time Sick, there's some bloopers. So yeah,
I'll have to take a look at that. Last but not least, before we wrap this here up,
okay.
Altogether, what's it been just altogether the vibe of what it's been like doing this series for so long? Like, what kind of impact has it had on you?
Personally, a lot of growth. I kind of found my calling through it. The story of Jane Smith is this lost girl that finds her way back home, back to herself. Home is where the heart. So it's the home within herself. She finds her strength and finds her heart within. She returns to becoming Romana, and she basically can return to knowing who she is, about Gallifrey and all her people. And so for me, I think back then, with all my struggles throughout my life, I still had the sense of being a little bit of a lost girl, and returning to finding myself and not being a lost girl anymore through the process of creativity with all these people that worked alongside of me and laughed with me and created these lifelong memories, but also pieces of work, pieces of art that are out there in the universe for all to see.
Well, I'm glad you've really enjoyed doing this series, and it looks like you and the other people have had a lot of fun. I mean, I know I had fun.
Yeah,
I'm glad. The brief time I was on, and it was really fun. The long shoots from like evening till night, or shooting at night at the library.
I remember speaking of bloopers, in the end of one of the episodes of Time Sick, people can hear your voice off camera. It's a blooper. So you'll have to go and see that.
Of course.
Yeah, you'll hear your voice. I won't say what, but the end of one of the episodes.
Is it on the YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's on the end of I think the third or the fourth episode. I always put bloopers at the end.
I'll have to take
all of them.
I'll have to take a look at that.
I don't think I did the fourth. It's probably the third. Because the fourth I didn't have any bloopers, but yeah.
Last but not least, advice for those who want to get into filmmaking, whether it's for a fan film or a fan series.
Fan film, fan series. I think anything, if you want to try something, maybe find out who's doing it in the area, if there's anyone locally, And I mean, I auditioned and I was kind of an extra on a couple of the other film companies, their films for at first. And then I also worked on my friend Ron Huffstutter. Huffstutter, is that his name? He had a couple films and he was a student here for a while. And I was a PA on one of his films that he did, The Truth About Daisies. And so I kind of started learning how the process was, because I don't think, you know, you can see a film or you can see a play, but you don't know what's going on behind. So I would join in and do whatever, like be an extra or be a PA. And a PA is like the grunt, almost. It's like, go get, you know, you're kind of doing all the little odd jobs that you needed to be. Like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, in an indie film, it's like, you're a PA. Can you hold this thing up to block the light? Can you, you know, hold the boom mic if it's needed, or can you run the slate? But like, just
or read the script. In
yeah,
my
or
case.
read the scripts for the actors so they can, you know, if they miss a line or follow along, you know, do continuity or something. But just like get kind of absorbed in that community, in that world, so you have an idea. And then also know that, I like to say this, you don't have to be an expert at things, you just have to begin. So if you feel drawn to it, just take the first step and take another step and then another step. And before you know it, you're going to learn and you're going to get better than you were before. And you'll see that improvement. So yeah.
Nice. Any last minute advice for those who are watching, just you like to throw out there, or what they should be looking forward to in the future?
Yeah. Love your thrive and find your sunshine.
That's some good advice. I can't argue with that. Last but not least, would you like to let people know where they can follow you or Cafe Girl on social media so they can stay up to date?
Yeah, well, so we have our website, www.cafegirlproductionsinc.com. It's under the former name. Yeah. And then we're on YouTube, as well as like as well as the Time Keys YouTube channel. We also have the Cafe Girls YouTube channel, which is like at Cafe Girl 11. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook and Instagram. I could have all those links below.
Oh yeah, feel free to send me all those links through Facebook, so when I get to editing and all this stuff.
And an email, cafegirlproductions@gmail.com, if you really want to, like, if you want to be involved in and you're local, you want to act, or you can email, or you can go to the website and then click subscribe to the newsletter. And that's like I do monthly newsletters, so you'll be up to date that way as well.
Hope to see you guys. I could also, speaking of, I know it's been a while. Hope to see you guys at some conventions later down the road too.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, well, just to hang out too. I don't know what we'll be doing there, because yeah, but yeah, I guess it's, coming back into the world post COVID is what it is.
Okay. I think that should do it again. Leah, thank you for coming on to talk about, Time Keys and all the series part of that. Can't wait to see what you guys do in the future. I can't wait to see how things go. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
of course.
So much.
You're very welcome. And as always, once again, I'm Wayne the Unknown. Until next time, thank you for listening. And as always, thank you for watching.